And today, you're going to teach us the 5 daily exercises in gratitude in less than 5 minutes to improve our lives, even during tough times. And this is really applicable, especially in the midst of the global pandemic, the COVID-19 crisis. So can you take us through the 5 daily exercises that we can practice?
Absolutely. And I developed this because, I chose it out of so many different ways that I teach people to practice gratitude, because people are busy. And I chose 5 things that we can do every day that take us from our first waking moment until we go to bed. And because we are busy, it doesn't take these, when even all 5 take 5 minutes or less to do. Of course, you can extend any of them longer, but to do all 5 doesn't take that long. And I always like to start by saying that until I was in my mid-20s, I actually was quite an ungrateful person. I didn't appreciate what I had. It took tragedy for me to understand, to discover the power of gratitude. And that was when my fiance was ill, and the doctors said that there was nothing left that they could do for him. And he unfortunately passed away from cancer. It was during that time when I was so grief-stricken that I discovered the power of gratitude and being grateful for a simple cup of hazelnut coffee while he was in the hospital. So I like to emphasize the message that gratitude truly is most powerful on our most difficult days, to not wait for the great days when things are going well. It is very powerful on our worst days. And for many people, unfortunately, right now, whether it be physical illness or finances and just anxiety in the world, for many people, this is the most difficult time of their life. So I want to just emphasize that gratitude, it doesn't make the problems of the world go away, but it does make people feel better. So I'll start with the first simple exercise, and that is upon waking, simply to say the words "thank you" out loud. And not even to be necessarily thankful for anything in particular. So you don't need to use your cognitive brain to think about something. It's simply to say the words "thank you" out loud. And I have heard this attributed to Wayne Dyer, and I just love all of his work. So I can't recall exactly where I heard this, but it was originally attributed to Wayne Dyer. And the reason that this is effective is that because all of our lives, when we hear or say the words "thank you," it's associated with positivity. We thank people for nice things. We don't thank people for crummy things. So by saying those 2 words, we are automatically getting ready for the goodness to come our way. We are priming our brains, getting ready to appreciate and to notice all of the great things. So before your feet hit the floor, to say thank you before you get out of bed. And that can take 2 seconds if you want to do it really short, or you can spend more time thinking about the words "thank you," but it really doesn't have to take long at all. The second step is to set your intention at the beginning of the morning to be more grateful. So that could, so what I mean by that is either in the shower or sitting on an ottoman or at the edge of your bed, to set your intention to be more grateful during the day. And that could be saying to yourself, please let me be more grateful and more aware of all of the good things in my life today. And the reason that this works, and this can go for anything. Right now we're talking about gratitude, but it can also work for sticking to a meal plan or being mindful of drinking more water, whatever your goal is. Because when we set our intention at the beginning of the day, it activates part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And that is part of our brain that's responsible for filtering out all of the information that we are bombarded with all day. We simply cannot attend to it all. So when we set our intention, it helps us to pay more attention to what we want and less attention, or actually have it not even be in our awareness what we don't want. So it highlights the good, and the goal over the course of time is to not even pay attention or notice what might bother us. So slowly we are feeling better every day simply by setting our intention at the beginning of the morning to be more grateful of all of the good things during the day. And that can take as long as you like. You could spend 2 minutes on that activity or 10 minutes. And the third suggestion that I have is every day to express appreciation for one person in your life. It could be someone that you live with. It could be someone from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Just pick one person and express appreciation. What did that person do for you? How does that person make you feel? How do you value the relationship? What special qualities do you appreciate about that person? Get really creative. And it could be in a written letter, it could be email, phone call, face-to-face, whatever way you're comfortable with, but make it a goal to express appreciation every day. And the research shows that expressing appreciation is one of the easiest ways to foster closeness in a relationship. And when it's done in marriages, people who tend to do it on a regular basis actually stay together longer. I love the research of John Gottman that really shows people, couples that make a point to compliment each other more than criticize, actually are more happy in the marriage and have longer lasting marriages. But this kind of extends to any relationship, whether it be a friendship, supervisor, employee, parent-child. So just be mindful of expressing appreciation every day for one person in your life. And that could take as long as you like. You could get, really write a nice handwritten letter. That would be a wonderful way. We just don't get handwritten letters in the mail anymore. It's a really wonderful way to surprise somebody. So you feel good and the person receiving it feels good. The fourth suggestion that I have is, as you're going about your day, pay attention to any uncomfortable or undesirable feeling that you may have. And I like to avoid using the word negative, because I truly believe that there is no such thing as a negative feeling. Every emotion that we have is valid, and every emotion is here to teach us something. So we can use that uncomfortable feeling as a trigger to practice gratitude or to find the lesson in that feeling. So for example, if you're experiencing guilt, it might be because the underlying value is that something means something to you. So if you're feeling guilt in parenting, it might be that the value is that you value being present with your children. If you're experiencing betrayal, it might be that your value is loyalty. So it's usually related to a positive value, and to focus on what that positive value is rather than the uncomfortable feeling. And then use that uncomfortable feeling as a trigger for looking for the good. What are you grateful for? What is the lesson in that experience? What might you want to do better? What lesson can you learn? So there's always a lesson, and there's always something to be grateful for. Now, it's really difficult when it's heavy, for example, grief. And in my own experience of loss, what I focused on was all of the love that I received, and how comforted I was that people were showing me love and support and comfort. So that is just a quick example of how even grief, you can find something positive. It doesn't make the problem go away. The grief is still there and awful, but it can be just enough sometimes to lift you to feel a little bit better when you focus on one positive thing. And the last suggestion that I have takes us to the very end of the day, and that is when your head hits the pillow, to use that sensation of your head hitting the pillow as a trigger to think about two things that you are grateful for, and specifically focus on that day. And the reason is because when you focus on the day that just passed, you are training yourself for the next coming day to notice the good. When you hold yourself accountable, you know you're going to have to recall those two things before you go to bed. So as you go about the next day, you will actually notice them more. It'll be like you as it happens, you make a mental note in your brain that you're going to have to think about two things before you go to bed. And so it highlights it when it's actually happening. And then over the course of time, you are truly training your brain to be more positive and to notice the wonderful things. And another reason why this is a great exercise is because we tend to bring into our sleep what we last read, thought about, talked about, watched on TV. We tend to bring that into our sleep. And by focusing on something positive like what we are grateful for, just helps to facilitate more restful sleep. And this can also be an exercise that you use if you are awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oftentimes people have worry thoughts at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the reason it feels so heavy at that hour is because it's dark. There is no other stimulation to serve as a distraction. So we're kind of lost in our own thoughts. And going to gratitude is one way to help get back to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. And just to tell yourself that nothing's getting solved at 3 in the morning, to give yourself permission to let it go. If it's a problem worthy of your attention, you can address it in the morning. So use gratitude to help you get back to sleep. So those are my 5 everyday exercises in gratitude that truly will transform your life.
Wow. And as I see the 5, I was taking down notes. As I see the 5 daily practices that you shared with us, Dr. Peggy, they're all easy to do, right? Even if you're so busy with your work that day, it is so easy. You can just squeeze it in your daily schedule.
Yes, I'd like to keep things simple and doable so that they do work on our most difficult days, because that's when we truly need it the most. And that's why I like to give the example of how it was on my worst day that I discovered the power of gratitude in that cup of hazelnut coffee. That up until that point, I really had not been a very grateful person. It took the worst time of my life to discover that. And it wasn't easy, but it did make me feel better.